Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where, due to a technicality, we finally get a chance to cover how in defeat Tarantino is. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we feeling, boys? Ready to talk about those stinkers?
I'm ready to look at some feet.
I think we need to get this episode off on the right foot.
We are here to wrap up our coverage of Grindhouse, the double feature with a bunch of fake trailers that became real trailers for real movies in most cases. Yeah, we covered Planet Terror not very quickly, but we rushed the ending a little bit in the last episode. I just want to make one quick addendum to that. So if you didn't listen to our last episode and you just want to hear about Death Proof, just fast forward a couple minutes. But at the very end, when they get in the helicopter, Dr. Block, Dakota's husband, shows up as a zombie and she kills him, closing out her arc. Also, her dad survives wherever he was staying to hold people off. I think it was at the barbecue joint, but he makes his way to the escape helicopter too. So happy ending.
Yeah, something like that.
I thought something was going to happen there. My bad.
Yeah. Was there something after you started to say something else and then you froze up, Ryan? What was the end of that thought?
No, I didn't really have much. No, I think the internet did a bamboozle on me.
Leave this in.
I swear I heard you say something else, and then your face froze, and Rich and I both leaned in, and then you unfroze, and you were just sitting there quiet.
No, I said that's about it, and then it froze.
That was great tension. I love that. All right. So we have to cover not only Death Proof here, folks. We also have to cover the trailers because we talked about covering the trailers in order, and that went out the window and we went overtime last episode anyway. So let's talk about them real quick. First up is Machete, which actually became a film with a sequel that's actually getting a third install where he's in space. This is the Danny Trejo one, right?
Yeah, this is the guy from the Muppets.
Muppet Man, yeah.
Yeah, so the all of this is very like fast paced, but like a guy picks up Machete and wants him to assassinate like a senator, right?
Yes, and the senator's played by Jeff Fahey, the guy that was JT in Planet Terror.
Okay, and so Machete is about to kill his target, and he's double crossed by the guy who hired him and is shot, but survives. And it's revealed he's actually a federale, and he goes to talk to his priest, who is Cheech Marin, and asks for help in killing the people who set him up for this. And so they go on a killing rampage together.
Set up for a pretty standard 70s revenge thriller.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's got a pretty good shot where Machete holds up a machete and a bunch of other dudes hold up machetes.
And it has one of my favorite lines of like this entire saga, which is Cheech, who's playing a priest, has a shotgun up to somebody's head, and he said, "Father, have mercy. God has mercy. I don't," and then shoots him.
Yep. It's pretty good.
Also, in the chaos of we thought Ryan was saying something and didn't, we didn't say what the addendum was, which is Josh Brolin's character, Dr. Block, totally gets killed by his wife.
No, I threw that in there before.
I caught that at least. Yeah.
Oh, I am an idiot. I don't care. Leave this in. Fuck
no. This is
we'll do it live.
This is our messiest episode since National Treasure.
Look, I just watched Fast 10 like 3 hours ago, so I am still very much in the mode of like, I'm gonna watch Jason Momoa playing Johnny Depp playing the Joker, because that's what that character was, and it was phenomenal.
I think it's lore for the podcast at this point that your post Fast and Furious leaves you a little you got Fast and Furious brain. It's
it's watching a Fast and Furious movie is the equivalent of drinking 7 Coronas.
No, it's fine. Also, I don't want to get off the Machete trailer until we mention the fact that there's like a machine gun attached to a motorcycle that's launched into the air at some point.
It's dope. This whole thing is dope as shit.
Yeah.
It is the most CG you get in the whole like double feature, though.
I don't care. It's still dope as shit.
No, yeah. I'm not averse to it. I think Robert Rodriguez does CG stuff pretty well. That's why I don't hate Alita Battle Angel.
I liked
Yeah.
Alita
Yeah, I
Battle.
liked it quite a bit. I'm a big fan of the manga, and I thought it did a damn fine job adapting something for an American audience that is probably a little too weird in its original form for us.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie, I bought it recently because I was like, you know what, I haven't seen in a minute, Alita Battle Angel.
Let's do
So,
Thanksgiving next.
No,
well,
just do them in order. The next one's going to be Werewolf Women.
Oh, fine. I wanted to
we're
leave Nick
skipping
Cage
Hobo
till
with a
last.
Shotgun because it's
It's a
everything in the
hobo with a
name
Well,
shotgun.
tells you exactly what it is.
We talked about it shortly in the first episode. I
Yeah.
think we touched on everything that was important about it. It's a
He
hobo with a
shoots
shotgun.
Santa.
He shoots Santa.
And he saves his nickels and dimes for a shotgun.
Yep.
So next up is the only reason we are covering these films, which is Werewolf Women of the SS, which
so
is
good.
Which is about a film about Hitler's secret real plan of making a superhuman race of like hot women werewolves.
Yes.
There is an insane amount of nudity packed into this trailer, which is kind of fucking out of control. They've got Udo
It
Kier.
starts on 2 pairs of tits. Like, that's the starting point.
It's got Udo Kier, Tom Towles, Bill Moseley, and Sherry Moon Zombie, Sybil Danning, and the man of this hour and every other hour, Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu.
And real quick, I'm going to once again shoehorn some wrestling because there were 2 wrestlers in this, one of which died shortly after making this. Fans of the Attitude Era will remember Test. Andrew Martin was in this and died about a year later. And a wrestler by the name of Vladimir Kozlov, who I remember is this big Russian dude who was bad at wrestling.
Oh, I don't recognize either of those names, but I'm not the biggest wrestling dude.
If people watch like the Attitude Era when it was like super fucking popular, Test was the dude who was supposed to marry Stephanie McMahon until Triple H drugged her and took her to a chapel in Vegas and married her. But somehow he didn't get arrested for that.
Test, was he involved with the vampire guys at any point?
No, you're thinking of Edge.
Edge, okay. And he wasn't one of the guys who did the Suck It X's.
No, he was he was not a part of DX.
Okay. I'm dating the last time I had any knowledge of wrestling was the eras I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's fair.
The last time I watched wrestling was literally 12 hours ago, so
See, it's one of those things where it's like there was a brief period when I was younger that I was into it, and then I fell off hard. And yet I associate with a lot of adult wrestling fans. And I like my eyes glaze over. I'm just happy to see people I like talking about shit that they like, but I have no fucking understanding of it.
I just wanted to throw that in since there's been so much wrestling in this episode specifically.
Yeah. About once a year, I'll catch up on New Japan Pro Wrestling, whatever like the coolest looking matches are, but that's about it.
As you should. Actually, watch Wrestle Kingdom from this past year.
Oh, that one was good. I gotta catch that.
Watch the Kenny Omega entrance. He's Sephiroth. He comes out to the Sephiroth music. He has the one wing.
Kenny Omega so much.
Fucking great. It's the greatest entrance I've ever seen.
Does it have good Tetsuya Naito shit? Because I love that man too. Hell yeah. So
yeah, Naito was. Who did Kenny? Oh, it was Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. So it was also a fucking banger of a match. If you just want to see 2 dudes just kneeing the shit out of each other.
See, my eyes are glazed over, but I'm just happy you guys are having fun.
I am having fun talking about Kenny Omega just destroying people's faces.
So next up is the trailer for Don't, which is
parody
also
of like
real
bad
quick
horror films.
Real quick too, I'm so sorry. The 4 seconds that Nick Cage is on screen is concentrated Cage. You get an entire movie's worth of Nick Cage in that 4 to 6 seconds.
Yeah, if you do a shot of this trailer thinking like you've had a dose of Cage like this before, you're definitely ODing. All
right, so as you're talking about it, I am going to look it up so that I can just play just his 6-second
3 seconds
clip
of audible dialogue. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, no, also the costume, if you haven't seen the trailer and if you're not interested in the rest of this, if you're a true Cage head, look up the trailer for Werewolf Women of the SS. It'll take like 2 minutes out of your life, and you'll get to see one of the most ridiculous bits that Cage has ever done.
And just, continuing the tradition of Fu Manchu being played by white dudes.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, but it's so stereotypically racist every time it's portrayed. I think it's only appropriate that they're always played by white people.
I mean, yeah, the history of Fu Manchu like pulp novels is a history of anti-Asian racism. So yeah, that totally tracks.
Yeah, the whole thing tracks. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for this?
Please.
Here we go.
Light forces draw closer. There is only one last desperate hope.
Fu Manchu.
And Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu.
I wanted CINNIBAR. CINNIBAR! To my liking! This is my vision!
That's it. That's why we're here, people.
Hey, that's longer than the theatrical cut of that trailer.
The mustache is so poorly applied.
Yes.
And the line of "I want Cinnabon."
Yeah. Also, by the way, the depiction is absurdly stereotypically racist. Jesus Christ. On rewatch, it's worse. When it opened with the gong hit again, I was like, I can't believe I forgot that. And I literally just saw it before we started recording.
It's so good.
Oh my God. All right. So don't, like Ryan said, like a spoof on Italian horror. It's like a haunted mansion bit. You can tell very, very immediately, even without knowing it, this was Edgar Wright's bit, because there are multiple characters you've seen in like the Shaun of the Dead shit, including the one of the mustachioed detectives from Hot Fuzz, also the shitty kid at the appliance store from Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Also one of the women that gets killed in Hot Fuzz, the one who's having an affair with the theater director or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Peter Serafinowicz too, the dude that voices Darth Maul in the Clone Wars.
Oh, there you go.
How I described this to both Josh and Ryan was both the funniest and worst 90 seconds of my week, because it's nothing but jump scares, which as they go on just become hilarious, because it's like every 4 seconds it's a jump scare. I don't handle jump scares well as a person, but it's so funny and ridiculous I had to watch. So
one of them is a big naked Nick Frost eating baby dolls.
It was tremendous. I'm just saying that, like, I'm watching it and I'm jumping every time while laughing because it was phenomenal, and I love Edgar Wright.
Yeah, no, Edgar Wright is pretty. This so just to clarify, because as soon as we get into Death Proof, which we will after this next trailer, I thought that the writers and directors on this maybe collaborated in some way, shape, or form. Now, they're not credited as such, so I don't know how true that is. But Edgar Wright's humor, in my opinion, like I thought it bled through more than just the trailer for Don't, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think there was any cross-contamination. I think they just gave a bunch of directors, they were like, yeah, make a fake horror trailer, and then we will throw it into this.
That's kind of impressive. I'm not going to lie. The fact that it gelled as well as it did.
Oh, yeah.
So next up, the last fake trailer we have to cover is Thanksgiving, which it's a slasher. It's a Thanksgiving themed slasher. This is Eli Roth's bit, which I knew without looking, because like in the first 30 seconds of the trailer, there's like a cheerleader getting naked on a trampoline, and literally trying to think of the appropriate way to
she does the splits.
She does a split on the trampoline, but the killer has pushed a knife through the trampoline right as she comes down, and it hits where you think it would hit. If
and
you have
it
any
gets
familiarity
worse
with
from
Eli
there.
Roth. What was that?
And it gets worse from there.
It does get worse from there. There's a town parade, and the killer decapitates a person in a turkey costume.
That was funny. That was legitimate. I chuckled.
There's like a couple at makeout point, and the girlfriend goes to give the boyfriend a blowjob, but when she finishes, realizes he's been decapitated.
But did he come?
You
Then
mean
there's
his
like
wang?
you mean my huang? The only standout line from that film. Yeah, and then I'm not sure if it's like a different girl or something, but there's a guy like telling a girl to relax, and she goes to kiss him, but he has also been decapitated. Which I'll give credit there. That's pretty fucking funny. There is another very funny scene in it. A cop is like licks blood from a decapitated body and tells the sheriff that, yep, that's blood. And then finally, there's a family at dinner at Thanksgiving, and there's like a big cloth over the thing in the middle of the table, and they pull it up, and it is 100% a human trussed up as a turkey. So human turkey. And yeah, it's way over the top. Also, this is becoming a feature-length film. So
Out this year.
There you go.
Yep, I'm gonna see it.
And then after this trailer, almost inexplicably, a series of commercials run. Here's an artist rendering of what that sounded like.
Now, you see, I thought I missed something. I was like, oh, there's commercials? And then I realized it was an ad break. I'm like, oh, clever.
Rich, I don't know if you've realized this or not at this point, but my goal every time I lead us into an ad break is to make you think I'm talking about a part of the movie that you missed because you were playing a video game while it happened.
Yeah. Listen, there's like a solid 70% chance.
That's why I love doing it. It honestly makes it a lot of fun for me.
Good. I'm glad.
So we're on to Tarantino's Death Proof. Did we even do housekeeping for Death Proof in the first run through? Or do we have to do
we
that?
didn't. We were holding that off for now, I think.
All right, I'm gonna speed run this.
Yeah, it's a speed run.
We're gonna go off the top of our heads for this one. First up, Kurt Russell as stuntman Mike. Kurt Russell has been in movies. One of my favorites, The Thing. Love that movie. Also
Big
in another
Trouble in Little
Tarantino
China.
film.
Overboard.
Hateful Eight. He escaped from several places.
New York and LA, from what I've heard.
Amazing. East Coast, West Coast. Bringing them together, baby.
In LA, he does a little basketball and he surfs on some sewage. It's great.
Neat. But yeah, that's Kurt Russell. You know who Kurt Russell is. Also famously on the set of Hateful Eight, destroyed an antique guitar.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
If you guys are not aware of it, the scene where he breaks the guitar in Hateful Eight, and what's her name? I can't remember the name of the actress. Freaks out. She goes, "Whoa!"
Jennifer Jason Leigh, who was in what do you call it? Fast Times.
Yes. Yeah. She is reacting
Legitimately.
She's not acting. That is real because they didn't swap out the prop. Also, because of that, the historic museum that lent shit like that out to movie productions no longer does that.
That tracks.
Yeah, good call.
I don't know why they would do it in the first fucking place.
Oh yeah, that Quentin Tarantino. He seems like a real trustworthy guy.
That's another thing. Like I could get like if Scorsese shows up and is like, we really are trying to make this true to real life. Could we borrow some of these things? The museum's like, yes, of course, Mr. Scorsese. And Tarantino shows up and is like, hey, can I borrow that guitar? I was like, are you gonna put somebody's feet on it? Because this is an antique.
You see, I kind of figured that like Tarantino would show up and they just immediately whip out like Dorothy's ruby red slipper from.
No, actually, I'm sorry. If Tarantino showed up at a museum, they're like, call the cops. Just call the cops. I don't want to know where this is going.
This man definitely has cocaine on his person.
Next up, we have Zoe Bell as Zoe Bell. She was also in Hateful Eight as one of the stagecoach drivers, but I don't recognize her from anything else. Oh, wait. No. I'm sorry. She was in Malignant. She was in Gamer. She was in Lost, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Django Unchained. So
And she's the stunt woman who did a lot of the stuff that Uma Thurman couldn't in Kill Bill. She's the body double.
oh, that's
Oh,
dope as shit.
nice.
Next up, we have Rosario Dawson, who I'm pretty sure everybody knows. She was in Sin City, Clerks 2 and 3, several Star Wars shows. She was also a fixture on the Netflix Marvel shows. Also dated Cory Booker,
Oh,
senator
huh.
from our own state.
Neat.
I was also in Kids. About to call that movie.
I was gonna
AIDS.
say Kids is probably the biggest one that she's ever been in, honestly.
And I almost just called that movie AIDS. I was about to say, oh, she was in AIDS. No,
That
it's
is-
Kids.
Basically what that movie is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Rosario Dawson and Johnny from The Wire, which is the white heroin addict.
Next up, we have Vanessa Ferlito as Butterfly, who was in Spider-Man 2, Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, and Medea Goes to Jail.
What is
Next up, we have Tracy Toms as Kim, who is in The Devil Wears Prada, at least an episode of The Good Doctor, I have to mention, just because it's in the current discourse. American Gods, Veep, and my personal favorite, I have to shout this out, she was in a Comedy Central movie called Porn and Chicken,
I
which
love Porn and
was
Chicken.
a fantastic fucking film.
Where did
I gotta
Chicken's
track
great?
that down.
I haven't seen
Um,
that since it first aired. Shit, I gotta hunt that down too.
Dude, it was so, I remember it being so good. I'm scared that it's gonna
Oh, it's
not
gonna be
hold up.
bad. It's probably gonna not hold up.
But I remember loving that movie when it came out.
I just remember the bit where they filled the super soaker full of like I think it was shaving cream and spackle to do the money shots on the walls.
I still remember the clip from the trailer, the commercial they played for it, where they go under they go in disguise for the college radio show, and they're like, "Why did you make this club?" And they're like, "Well, because fried chicken is delicious, and pornography is video of people having sex with each other." Next up, we have Jordan Ladd as Shanna, who's in Never Been Kissed, Club Dread, Cabin Fever, and Hostel Part 2. Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Lee, who is in 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was fantastic. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Live Free or Die Hard. Kate, which is a Netflix film with Woody Harrelson. I think
Haven't seen it, don't know.
Can't
Same.
remember. And Birds of Prey and Swiss Army Men.
Ooh, can I do Tarantino's?
Please.
And also Quentin Tarantino, who's on one episode of The Golden Girls as an Elvis impersonator.
All right. That's all I got for my speed run. I know we're missing people, and I apologize.
Who cares?
That's-
It's Kurt Russell murdering people.
Shit. I'm sorry. Hold on. There was the one guy I wanted to touch
Oh,
on.
Eli
because-
Roth is also here.
Yeah, Eli Roth is in it. Like, they just play creeps hitting on women. That's like the
Yeah.
whole bit. But Jonathan Lowren is in it as Jasper, and he's been in a bunch of, he was in like all the Adam Sandler shit. He's like the big dude, and they usually give him like cross eyes or something in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Sandler films.
He's
Um,
also the trucker that pays Buck in Kill Bill.
Yes, correct. But he was in like every fucking Adam Sandler thing, up to and including like Jack and Jill and Grown Ups 2. Okay.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Oh, we also get Michael Parks, James Parks, and Marley Shelton returning from Planet Terror.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So Death Proof is going to be way less content wise as far as what we have to cover comparative to Planet Terror, because this is already a weird review for us as far as what we normally do, as far breaking down plot point by point so that you don't have to watch the movie. Planet Terror, there was too much content to really cover in one episode, whereas Death Proof, there's kind of not enough content to fill a whole episode with. So this is where you're going to
We
get.
filled it out with the housekeeping and the trailers. I think we're going to be right on the mark.
Yeah, but like this is one of those movies. It's a Tarantino movie. It is 85% dialogue.
Yes, correct. And it's mostly dialogue about pop culture that most of the viewing audience is not aware of.
Right. It's like Tarantino is still watching the movie to this day, just jacking it. It's just his two favorite things: feet and long diatribes about things nobody's heard of.
Well, that is the perfect introduction, because the opening scene is literally bare feet on a dashboard of a car.
You're like,
Um,
yup, this is a Tarantino flick.
Yeah. So a group of it starts off with Shauna and Arlene driving around in a car, and they pick up a local DJ known as Jungle Julia, tie into Planet Terror, where they did some sort of tribute to her. So you can kind of guess that things aren't going to go super great for her. They Shauna and Arlene pick up Julia, and they drive around talking about their plans. Essentially, they're supposed to go to a lake house. They want to get weed. They want to get drunk. They want to tease guys. Julia is on a number of billboards, and they scream every time they go by one of these billboards. It's like a bit. They stop at a local bar, and when they go in, Arlene sees like an ominous black car that seems to be like following them or watching them. It's like stopped in the street. When the girls go in, they meet up with one of Julia's friends, and then we get the reveal that Julia did a bit about Arlene on the radio earlier that night, basically describing Arlene and saying if anybody spotted her, if they got up or approached her and gave her a drink and recite a little poem and call her Butterfly, Arlene will give them a lap dance. So Arlene is sort of like pissed about this, but Julia teases her about being a chicken shit if she doesn't go through with it. And plus, if it's somebody that is giving her bad vibes, they'll just say it was a one-time deal and somebody already claimed it, basically. So they drink there for a little while, and then they go to another bar called the Texas Chili Parlor. And this is the one that Tarantino plays a character named Warren who runs the bar, and they continue to drink. Eli Roth is also in this scene as a creep trying to get the girls drunk so him and his friend can go with them to the lake house or something like that. The best part of this scene, in my opinion, is Warren is giving them shots, and the shots they're taking is chartreuse, which is a kind of obscure booze. If you're not familiar,
we actually talked about chartreuse, I believe, if our listeners want to go back to the Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, I believe we had a conversation about chartreuse.
We definitely had another conversation at a later date because I wasn't on that one, and I do recall us being in a recording and talking about that as well. I think it might have been one of the ranking episodes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a recollection. Go back and listen to that. We talk about chartreuse.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. It's a bizarre liquor brewed by French monks, and it's got a lot of different spices in it, and it's all proprietary. It's like the recipe for Coke.
Yeah, it's like 120 different like herbs and flowers and spices. It's crazy.
The funniest thing to me is I haven't seen chartreuse in a lot of like high-end bars. I have never seen chartreuse in a dive bar. And I also would not want to know how much a shot of chartreuse costs because I know how much a bottle costs. And it's not one of those things where the shot would be cheap or even affordable enough to make it worthwhile to get one just to take a shot of it. But it is very funny. And Tarantino has a funny line where it's like the booze so nice they named a color after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a piece of chartreuse like adds something or other on the wall too that I noticed. Maybe a neon sign. I'm not 100% sure if it was that or just like a poster.
I'd be shocked if there was a chartreuse neon. Again, it's made by monks.
Yeah, I don't think it was the neon sign. I think it might have just been like a poster or something that was framed on the wall.
If there was a neon sign for chartreuse now, I would
you would have
need
to
get
have
one.
Yeah.
I almost am afraid to look. Because if
Excuse me
it
while I
is,
do.
it's like literally a prop that they made for this movie, and there's only one of them. So Arlene goes outside at some point to smoke a cigarette, and the bar kicks on like the parking lot lights at this point, and Arlene sees the ominous car from before in the parking lot. We cut from there to our introduction to Stuntman Mike, who is the character played by Kurt Russell, who's chowing down on some nachos at the bar. And Eli Roth and his buddy are talking about trying to get the girls super drunk, and they plot out trying to feed them shots of Jaeger or some shit like that. They also poke fun at Stuntman Mike. At this point, Rose McGowan plays a different character in this movie, and that is the role of Pam, who is a woman who gets like, I think she got stood up or something for a date, but she's at the bar and she asks the bartender if there's anybody reliable who could give her a ride home. And as she says this, like a pair of keys like slide down the bar and stop in front of her. And it's Stuntman Mike who offers her a ride home. But all of his dialogue is supposed to be like cool or aloof, because she's like, "Oh, like you're offering me a ride?" He's like, "No, I'm saying I'd give you a lift if when I'm ready to leave, you happen to be ready to leave." And she's like, "Well, when are you thinking about leaving?" And he's like, "I'm not."
All right, so I got breaking news. They
Okay.
did make a one-of-a-kind chartreuse sign for this movie.
Thank you for confirming and making me upset.
I just put a link to it in the chat.
Oh man,
Awful. Terrible. I'm upset. I'm gonna write a sternly worded letter to Quentin Tarantino, asking him to put me in touch with his neon guy. So this conversation between Pam and Stuntman Mike reveals a couple of things. One, Stuntman Mike doesn't drink. He's drinking club soda and lime, and he's planning on treating himself to a virgin pina colada at the end of the evening. He just goes to bars to eat nachos and look at women, basically.
someone you definitely want to ride home from.
Yeah. So some of Jungle Julia's friends show up and they go outside and smoke pot. And Stuntman Mike goes out to smoke a cigarette and introduces himself to Julia and pretends not to know who she is, despite the fact that there's literally a billboard with her and her name plastered on it, like right outside the bar that they're at.
Well, she calls him Zatoichi and then points to the side.
She does. She
Which is
does
pretty
call
good.
him Zatoichi, which is pretty funny. Oh, also, there's a very weird scene. I don't get it, but it was enough to make me chuckle. I don't know if that was the point or not, but like at the end of their conversation, Stuntman Mike goes to like sneeze, but it's everybody knows when you lose a sneeze.
Yes, yeah.
But to put like a full run of that in a movie for no apparent reason was odd.
I kind of appreciated it. You don't see that every day.
No, you don't. But like I said, it stood out enough to make me chuckle. It was a tonal shift to a certain extent that caught me by surprise. So Stuntman Mike goes back inside, and this is where the conversation about him being a stuntman occurs, because like Pam is talking to Tarantino's character, and I guess Tarantino's character is supposed to just be ball breaking. He's like, well, I can't actually confirm that he is a stuntman. I don't know that he's been in anything. He always tells me this stuff, but how the hell should I know? So Stuntman Mike goes on a rant, and Ryan, we're gonna have to tap your encyclopedic knowledge of stuff, because to somebody like me who doesn't recognize this shit, it could play one of two ways. If you don't know a bunch of obscure or at least semi-obscure stuff, you might think at this point that Stuntman Mike is 100% lying and making shit up off the top of his head. And it plays this way with the characters too, because he names a bunch of shows and actors and, stunts that he's done. Yeah. And after going on for like 5 minutes, he looks at the blank faces of his audience and go, you don't know any of these shows or these people that I'm talking about, do you? And they're like, nope. And he's like, all right. So, Ryan, you confirmed that these are all real things.
At the very least, I know the Virginian is, because I liked the Virginian. That's a pretty good Western show. I'm going to see if I can find a list of everything else and then maybe do confirmations on those. But I don't actually have that information off the top of my head at the moment.
But at least some of it is real. So not all of it is bullshit. But again, as a viewer, I had the same stance as the people he was talking to. I'm like, I don't know enough to dispute this, but I haven't heard of any of it. So at this point, Jungle Julia is asking Arlene if she wants the boys to come back with them to the lake house, but she says no. At this point, Stuntman Mike goes up to Arlene and hands her a drink and looks her dead in the eye and recites some lines from fucking Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, the fucking Frost poem that everybody recognizes,
Yeah, yeah.
and calls her Butterfly, which is the literal conditions to get a lap dance. And he mentions this call out and having caught all that. And Julia says that Arlene already did it. Stuntman Mike calls the lie, saying, you know, he's just good like that. And he asks Arlene if his scar frightens her. And she says, no, it's your car that frightens me. So Mike also calls out at this point saying, oh, your feelings are hurt. You thought you were going to be annoyed by dudes all night and nobody's done this yet. I'm the first one. And, you know, your feelings are hurt. But also, and this is another like super weirdo thing. This should have been another in a long list of red flags for Stuntman Mike. He apparently writes down the names of everybody that he's met.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Puts them in his book.
Yeah, and he says that he's gonna.
I actually just found a weird little bit. Apparently, that poem, its use is a reference to a '70s thriller called Teflon, in which the poem was used as a hypnotic signal to activate Russian sleeper agents.
Oh, like Manchurian Candidate shit.
Yeah.
Huh. Also, that's not a super interesting anecdote, just because that is if you held a gun to 90% of Americans' heads and said recite a line from a poem, that is the poem people would pull from.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that fucking poem. Shit, they even use that in The Sopranos. Fucking whatchamacallit?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, AJ has to do a paper on it, and Meadow is helping him cheat by explaining what all of the thematic elements are.
Mhm.
Everybody uses that poem. It's like it is a trope in media to refer to that one. So anyway, so Stuntman Mike has to threaten to put Arlene's name in his book under the title of Chicken Shit, literally echoing what Julia had used to tease her about in Guerrera's, the first bar they stopped at when she first told her, which adds a level of creepiness, right? Because we know already there's been mention made in the film about Stuntman Mike eavesdropping on people and shit. And he wasn't visible in Guerrera's, but it makes you ask yourself that question.
Yeah, it does.
So anyway, all of this ends with Arlene basically agreeing to give him the lap dance, and he does. And in the double feature version of the film, they do another missing reel bit, but in the feature length version of Death Proof, she does the lap dance. It's
a lap dance.
It's normal. It's less nudity than the trailers or Planet Terror. So there you go. At this point, everybody is leaving the bar, and Stuntman Mike is going to give Pam a ride home. And when she gets to the passenger seat of his car, you can see the passenger seat is real weird. In that, first of all, it's cut off from the driver's side by like a plexiglass shield, and it has like a little shitty metal like stool instead of a full seat. And Mike explains this is because it's made for movies. It's a stunt vehicle made for movies.
Right. They got to put the camera in there sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And then he says, listen to some more ads if you're not a Patreon subscriber.
Sorry about that. We're fostering another puppy, and she peed everywhere. So
no worries. It honestly only hurt you. You missed our Sopranos reference.
Damn it.
And we're back. Those are some good ads.
And services.
Yeah, and services. But Stuntman Mike was luring Pam into his vehicle. She agrees to get in, despite her initial reservations about the setup. When she gets in, we see that the girls are pulling off to the left. Mike pulls to the car up to exit the bar, and he goes, "You going left or right?" And she says, "Right." And he's like, "That's a shame. It was 50-50 which way you were going to go, because we're both going left. And if you were going left originally, it would have taken you a little while to get scared. But because you were going right, you're going to have to get scared right now."
All right.
And
so before
like,
we go any further, I do have confirmation that all of the shows that he mentioned are real TV shows. I knew the Virginian was. Vegas, spelled with a $sign instead of the S, apparently ran from 78 to 81. And it does seem to be a pretty car heavy show. Gavilan was a 1982 to 1983 show about CIA agents. I could imagine there being a lot of car chases in that. And the last one is The High Chaparral, which seems to be another Western like The Virginian. So all of the shows were actually real that he mentioned, and the actors do correspond to those shows in particular for the ones that he did body double work for.
Oh, nice.
Gotcha.
I kind of figured Tarantino is
I did
known
too,
for like his attention to detail and stuff like that.
We did want to like confirm that because it would be interesting if any of those were fake.
Yeah. Well, again, Mike is a weird character in this. But anyway, now that he's revealed that Pam has gotten herself into a bad situation, he dives right into it. She's begging him to pull over the car, and he starts swerving, and she's just bashing against. I have to admit, this was one of those elements because the rest of this doesn't hold up to any sort of scrutiny. But pulverizing somebody to death in the boxed in passenger seat of a vehicle by just driving recklessly is an interesting idea, if nothing else. Yeah. And that's essentially what happens. He accelerates, stops, she breaks her nose on the dash, she's swerving to bash her into the plexiglass in the door. But basically she gets all mushed up in the passenger seat box that she's in, and dies. At this point, Mike pulls out pictures of the girls that he's stalking, drops them out his window, and takes off in pursuit. And then, you know, the girls are driving down a dark stretch of road. Julia's got her feet out the window again because Tarantino. And essentially, Mike catches up, speeds past him, books it far in the distance, spins the car around, and then races towards them for a full-on head-on collision, which is brutal and devastating. So as soon as they impact, one of Julia's legs is ripped completely off.
Do you think Tarantino kept the leg?
Yes,
I do.
100%. It's on his mantle.
Yeah, he brought it immediately to a taxidermist.
A glass box.
Not a big glass jar.
No. It's like a slice or a hock of Iberico prosciutto on the wooden thing.
I can go for some prosciutto.
But anyway, so Julia's mangled. I can't remember what happens to one of the other girls that was with them.
So the girl in the back seat,
the back seat was the next one I remember, because the car goes through and like the back wheel like tears her face off.
Yeah. It's extremely over the top.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But Mike's car also flips and crashes really badly. And then this is where the cracks started forming for me, because I'm like, all right, so you're a serial killer and your whole bit is killing people with cars. And in this scenario, like, you didn't drink, but they were drinking and you knew it. So, you know, you're not going to get hit with drunk driving and you can blame it on them drunk driving. But it still doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're guaranteeing A, the cops are going to get called. B, you're going to be personally injured. And also incredibly expensive. You just totaled your own fucking car, dipshit.
I mean, again, this follows the formula of Grindhouse movies not making a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, fun, not logic, which is fine. Anyway, Stuntman Mike ends up in the hospital. It's actually the hospital where the doctor's block work. So we get to see Dakota again. I can't remember if we see Josh Brolin or not.
We don't see Josh Brolin, but we do see Dakota's dad, who is apparently also a cop, which makes sense because he's the same cop that was in Kill Bill.
Yeah, I think his name's Edgar. I can't remember.
Yeah, Edgar something or other, but he's played by Michael Parks, and his son, the other Parks, is also there.
Yeah. So essentially, the cops have a discussion with Dakota about Stuntman Mike, and she's like, "No, he got banged up pretty bad. He got lucky." And Dad Cop is like, "Yeah, sure, luck." And so him and the deputy walk off, and they have a conversation. And he's like, I think he fucking did this on purpose. He's like, that's crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm convinced of it. There's nothing we can do about it. The DA says there's no case here. I think he's going to do this again, but I'm just going to make damn sure he doesn't do it in Texas. Right.
Well, he says, and also he mentions that it's a sex thing, which is funny because they cut a shot out of this movie that was in the original cut of stuntman Mike herking off in the crashed car because
Oh.
Tarantino thought it was unnecessary to show that when the cops were just going to mention it shortly thereafter.
That's fair. Poor Kurt Russell. I'm sure he put his heart and soul into that crank off scene.
Yeah.
So now we cut to 14 months later, not in Texas, but in Lebanon, Tennessee. And we have a new set of young women, including Abernathy, played by Rosario Dawson, Kim, played by Tracy Toms, and Lee, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And they're picking up Zoe Bell,
Played by Zoe Bell.
Yes, correct. So stuntman Mike is taking pictures of them and watching them from a distance. They all work in film in general, with two of them being stunt women. That's Kim and Zoe Bell. Lee is like a lead actress, and Abernathy, I think, does like makeup or is a model or something like that. A bit of everything, maybe. It's not made explicitly clear.
Makeup or like a key grip or maybe sound department.
Yeah.
I don't remember them ever mentioning it specifically.
So same exact thing. The girls are driving. They're talking about their plans and who's banging who and what's going on, so on and so forth. At some point in this conversation, well, while they're talking, because they're going to various different places, like buying magazines, shit like that. There's one whole scene where Rosario Dawson has her like feet sticking out the window while one of the girls is inside, like buying stuff from the convenience store, and Russell comes up and like sniffs at her feet, goes to lick them, licks his finger instead, and then runs it across her toes, and then he pretends he had dropped his keys and he just brushed by her and gives her the creeps, of course.
I think that was cut from the extended edition too. I don't recall this.
Yeah, that happened. I like to think anytime you don't see Kurt Russell's head, it's just Quentin Tarantino touching feet.
Yeah,
100%.
Listen, you need some stunt hands.
At some point, while the women are talking and going back and forth, Kim reveals that she carries a gun with her. This comes into play later, which is why I'm mentioning it. And then we get into their big quest for this story arc, and that is that Zoe really wants to drive a specific car from a specific film, and I'm not a car guy. What was the car, guys?
It was a Dodge Challenger with a white paint job because of the movie Vanishing Point.
Yeah, what year was it?
I don't remember the year. No, that doesn't make any sense. I think Vanishing Point was a 70s movie. I will find out.
Okay.
1971.
Yeah, that's when Vanishing Point came out. Gotcha. Okay. So she found somebody that's selling that make and model of car, and she wants to go and visit this dude and trick him into letting her take a test drive, preferably without him in it, because again, this is one of her bucket list items, right? Stuntman Mike is there creepily listening to what's going on. Ryan, do you got some info?
I do about the Vanishing Point car specifically, because it just popped up as I was digging into that. Apparently, the reason they decided to use that car in that movie originally was because Chrysler had a recurring policy of renting cars to studios for $1 a day, making them the go-to car company for motion pictures.
That is a smart advertising strategy.
Absolutely.
That is very clever, folks. Also, real quick, we have to mention this here while they're talking about cars and films and stuff like that. They do Nick Cage so dirty. Given that he was in one of the trailers, the only reason why we're reviewing this, the characters in this shit on the Gone in 60 Seconds remake. Go check it out. We did an episode on it.
Well, they call it that Angelina Jolie shit. They don't even bring up our boy by name.
No, it's a double snub. It's a snub on a snub, man. So they drive out to the owner of this vehicle's house. This is Jasper, Jonathan Logren. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And so they go about, like, Zoe and Kim are conspiring to get out and drive this. And specifically, Zoe wants to do this bit. I can't remember what she calls it, like
Ship's mast.
Ship's mast. And I didn't understand what the fuck they were talking about. But it's implied it's some type of dangerous stunt, right?
Yeah.
So Abernathy wants to go with them, and they're trying to not include her because it's dangerous. So anyway, Abernathy or Abby talks them into letting her come along if she can convince Jasper to let them take a test drive without him involved. So she goes about this by essentially offering Lee, I think that's the character's name, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Leaving Lee behind and saying, hey, you can track us down. We're here for a month for a shoot. We're imminently findable, and we're not rude, and we're not thieves. And you got to meet Lee. She's in a film, and she's playing a cheerleader. And he's like, why is she playing what's a cheerleader movie? He's like, a movie about cheerleaders. He's like, is it a porn? And Abby's like, you know what? It is. Don't mention it, though. She's shy. And Lee is like drunk and passed out from the previous night in like a plastic lawn chair, is woken up, and they're like, hey, meet Jasper, hang out. We'll be right back. And to pick you up. And so the three women set out in the car, and they get to a stretch of road. They pull off to the side, and they set up for Ship's mast, which involves putting belts around either one of the door frames and shutting it. And then they take off down the road, and Zoe climbs out onto the hood of the car with one belt in her hand, grabs the other belt, and then slips down onto the hood of the car while they're speeding down the road. This is the stunt. This is Ship's mast.
And it does look pretty cool.
It looks
like fun.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
And I will say this is the part
as a movie stunt, I think it looks pretty cool.
As a movie stunt, it does look dope as fuck. But it's funny because Abby climbs into the passenger seat for this part, and we get a shot of her face going through a series of emotions. And the first one was the only one I connected with. The first one is the face you make when you watch. And for us, the last time this probably happened to us was probably several years ago, I would think. But it's the face you make when you're watching your friends do something stupid and you think, they're definitely going to die, and I'm going to witness it in real time. And that seems like a bummer.
Yeah.
But that face very quickly transforms into her just sort of living in the moment and having a good time with it, which is not a stage I would ever be able to reach personally. But while they're having this good time, all of a sudden behind them shows up stuntman Mike's car, and he rams into the back of them. This sets off just a stretch of him slamming into their car, Zoe scrambling, losing one belt, losing another belt, holding onto the hood of the car towards the windshield, getting flipped around, holding onto like the front fender, right, and like the grill of the car to keep from getting knocked off as he keeps slamming into them. Eventually he runs them off the road entirely, and Zoe goes flying off the hood of the car. Stuntman Mike pulls off to the side, gets out of the car, like laughing maniacally, going, that was fun, ladies. And Kim, in a very badass and reasonable move, just immediately starts shooting him with her gun.
She wings him in the arm, too.
Yeah, she hits him in the arm with the first shot, and she just keeps fucking firing. It is a normal response that I can get behind. And Stuntman Mike is floored by this. He's like, what the shit? Gets in his car and peels out. He did not enjoy that reaction in the slightest.
No.
And so now Kim and Abby are like staring there, like shell-shocked, like looking at the woods and brush that Zoe just flew off into.
God, I love this shot so much.
It is like they're like tears welling up. They realize they just saw a friend of theirs killed, and
then it cuts to their point of view, and Zoe just jumps over the brush. I'm fine.
Yeah. just like full slapstick bit. Just whips up. Is like, I'm fine. They're like,
Also,
son of a
this
bitch.
is a point of the film where I realized the car itself does not make him death proof, as previously thought.
Yeah. You were expecting a supernatural thriller. What you got is a pervert thriller.
Yes.
Well, Rich, hold on.
Still fine.
I like your I like your sense of hope and whimsy and wonder, and I want to keep it alive. He does say very clearly to get the benefits of the death proof, you have to be sitting in his seat. And he was not sitting in that seat when he got shot in the arm. Just saying. He is not.
So maybe it wasn't supernatural thriller.
So it might be a supernatural car. I don't know. Let's run through
It's a car from Hello Governor.
let's run through the rest of the events of the film real quick and see if that holds up. I actually think it does, but
well, yeah, because at first I was just like, oh, wait a minute. He was shot. The car's not pain proof, it's death proof. So I was
also, again, he was not in the front seat of that car. If he was in the front seat of the car when she started shooting, maybe it would have missed him.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
But anyway, Kim and Zoe are like, fuck this. We're gonna go kill him, right? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna go kill him. And Abby's like, yeah, let's go kill him. And they're like, I don't know if you want to be involved in this. And she's like, yes, I do. And they're like, all right, let's all go kill him.
So they go kill him.
Yeah, they do. They get in their car and they flip the script on stuntman Mike. And now they're chasing him. Now,
and this chase is pretty fucking good. You got a nice jump, which is a reference to Vanishing Point. You got the split paths going a couple of times.
Yeah, but I do want to be very clear before this happens. Like stuntman Mike is like pulled over, pulls a bottle of booze. I think it's like 4 Roses too, of all things, which is actually what I'm drinking right now. That he drinks from and then pours on his gunshot wound, screaming. Kurt Russell does a good job. I'm not gonna lie. It's a solid.
He always does. I love me a Kurt Russell.
And then he sees the car coming up on him. He's like, "Oh fuck!" and peels out. And then this car chase ensues. And it's a pretty long one. And like Ryan said, we hit all the classic old school stunts.
The only thing we're missing is the 2 guys moving a plate of glass across the road.
Yeah.
Or like slamming into a watermelon cellar on like the side of a road.
Yeah, the cabbage vendor or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I think he gets away from them brief. No. That's
when
right.
You get the split path thing.
Yeah.
He thinks he got away from him, but they're on the high road and he's on the low road.
Yeah. And so they catch up and they cause him to spin out. And then Zoe gets out and she had picked up a fucking metal pipe before they set off on this quest.
Yeah.
And she just starts fucking wailing on him, like bashes out his windows, starts hitting him in the face with it. He's trying to drive away and she's chasing him and hitting him with this pipe. It's amazing. And then I think there's a little bit more of a chase, and then he either flips the car one way or another. Yeah, the car flips.
They flip it.
Yeah, they flip his car, like pit maneuver him or something or the other. The car flips, and then they pull him out, and these 3 women just beat him to death with their fists. They're just in a circle around him, throwing solid stage punches. It's very well done.
And then they stomp him out too at the end.
Oh yeah. And then the final hit is literally, it's after the credits start rolling, they cut back. And I can't remember who it is.
I think it was Abernathy.
Yeah. Abby puts like a boot through his face. And that is the end of Death Proof. And we have finally finished the longest amount of cinema we've covered in a 2-episode run ever. So this is a Cage Fight podcast first for us. And yeah, I liked Death Proof. I do agree with Rich that it's
the lesser of the 2, but I do think that there's a lot to like about it.
Yeah, no, there was a lot to like. I actually, we talk a lot about 90-minute movies and how much we enjoy them.
Yes.
This is 2 of those.
Yeah, but Tarantino films, just because he likes his dialogue, and he's normally pretty good at it too, they kind of need more room to breathe. I never minded a 2.5, or even like, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was 3 hours.
3+ on the director's cut.
And it doesn't feel that long.
That fucking Hateful Eight has like a 5-hour cut.
which is
Yeah.
still solid.
Yeah, it's still really damn good. I watched it as like 5 1-hour TV episodes. It was good.
Right. I think Quentin Tarantino is kind of the one filmmaker where I will say that like he needs some more breathing room.
Oh, there's a fair few. You got Scorsese. As his movies get longer, I think they've been getting better, legitimately.
I feel like a lot of his movies drop off after like the 2-hour, 15-minute mark. I mean, but also to me, his
You're telling me the Irishman wasn't excellent all the way through?
that is exactly what I'm telling you.
I disagree wholeheartly.
My favorite film of his is The Color of Money.
Color of Money is really solid.
About 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But like The Wolf of Wall Street kind of loses steam. Yeah, to me, even Goodfellas, like it loses steam.
Whoa.
No. Goodfellas and Casino are the two movies I think on his filmography, other than
Casino
The
wasn't done by
Irishman.
Scorsese.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
What?
Yes. Casino's a Scorsese.
Wait, Ryan, finish your thought. What were you going to say about
I was going to
Goodfellas
say
and
that the
Casino?
Goodfellas and Casino are both like 2.5-hour movies, and I think they need every single minute of that.
Oh,
I
wow.
agree.
I'm stupid. I'm sorry. I thought Scorsese was involved, but I didn't think he
No,
directed
he
it.
directed it. He wrote it.
I love both of those films.
Yeah.
I
Casino is like one of my favorite
love
movies of all
I
time.
love Casino, but I think that it loses a bit of steam. Not where it becomes unwatchable, because like, the Joe Pesci death scene is real
Mhm.
fucking good.
Brutal.
The Sharon Stone bit at the end is fucking brutal.
Brutal.
But I feel like the last half hour is a little bit, it just tends to lose steam a bit. I think he's really, really good at writing middles of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. Casino, I think, is so perfect all around. That's a movie. Doesn't matter what part of it I start watching it, I have to watch it to the end.
I agree. I'm the same way
Like,
with that.
Used to run on TV all the time. If I'm flipping the channel and I see Casino, I have to stop what I'm doing and finish watching Casino.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I dislike Casino or that I dislike Martin Scorsese. I think that he is extremely good at what he does. I just think that he has a few movies that just tend to, and when I say lose steam, I'm not saying it like you're bringing it from a 10 to an 8. You're not bringing it from a 10 to a 3.
The one I would kind of agree about that is Gangs of New York. I do think loses a little steam in its third act.
Yeah,
this is just talking American directors too. Like if we're going international, there are plenty of directors
which I am not,
who go to like the 3-hour mark, and I think they need every minute of that. Like Andrei Tarkovsky's science fiction films Stalker and Solaris. Those both, if you cut even a minute out of either of those movies, they'd be lesser pieces of art.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just brought up Tarantino because that is just someone who I have seen most of his films, and generally agree that he needs more space to work.
Yeah, okay.
He can't write an hour 35 movie, because you get Death Proof, which isn't bad, but I don't think there's enough action in it for what it was trying to be.
How long are each of the Kill Bills? I'm kind of curious. Was that something that he truncated down to 2 movies because they were already getting a bit bloated?
Let me see. Let's see what Kill Bill Volume 1 is. Kill Bill Volume 1 is 111 minutes.
Okay, all right. So right at almost the 2-hour mark. So I do get why he would have cut that into 2. And then volume 2 is 2 hours 17. So it's like a 4-hour picture across both movies. That makes sense.
That 100% makes sense.
Oh, also real quick, there was a Kill Bill reference in Death Proof. There was a
Pulp Fiction reference too, and I think a Reservoir Dogs. I know the cheerleader uniform that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is wearing is a reference to Jackie Brown.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson's ringtone is the whistling song from Kill Bill.
But that's not exclusively a Kill Bill reference. That's a reference to The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Ah, well, there you go.
Where that was originally used, and then the RZA, when he was doing the music for Kill Bill, lifted that wholesale.
Well, that's because the RZA knows how to make music.
That is very true.
The key is good sampling. But yeah, no, I like Death Proof. I like Planet Terror more, but all in all, this is interesting. If we had to do the episode again, I would have given myself a lot more breathing room to digest this.
Yeah.
And more carefully plotted out how we were going to talk about it. But honestly, I think how we did it is more in line with the messiness of how they were, trying to pay homage to
Yeah.
Grindhouse films. So there you go. We were accidentally on target here.
But yeah, the messiness helped.
Congratulations, we done it.
Yeah. So one of the most important parts of all of our second episodes, what's next? What is in store for us? Spin the wheel.
What is in store for us is actually a movie I have never seen. I'm actually going to take a guess and say Ryan has never seen it. Josh, you're a degenerate. You've probably seen this movie. Drive Angry.
I haven't seen this, but I've heard it's fucking insane.
But
I don't know if that's like pejorative or positive.
I specifically held off because it popped on one of the streaming services that I have. And with all Nick Cage movies, no matter how much I want to see them, if I haven't watched them yet, I wait for them to pop on the podcast. So, I can go through my whole podcast process. And it's nice to get the first look at those sometimes. So
yeah.
This is a little strange. I actually think this might be inspired by Grindhouse cinema as well, from what I've heard.
I kind of I'm looking into it a little bit right now. Well, number one, the first thing I noticed is that both critics and audience is 100% split on this film.
Oh, yeah. All right.
It's about a 50% or a C to C plus kind of everywhere you look.
Okay.
And yeah, it looks like it's just kind of, I don't know, maybe a little grindhousey. I was going to say kind of like, not like a silly action film, but like a very heavy on the action film.
All right. Sold.
I think this might be good. I think we might have a gem on our hands.
I mean, I'll watch it. We gotta.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to. So we
do have to. Some interesting stuff from the director, but not a very wide library. We'll cover it in housekeeping next time. Always look at the directors and the writers now. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay. I'm interested. The one writer that isn't also, because the director wrote for this as well.
Yeah, I saw that or see that.
But the other writer,
Jason X, excuse me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, My Bloody Valentine 3D? Ooh, that's some good trash. All right. Sold.
Yeah, at first glance, it looks like this might be our kind of trash, people.
Wait, he wrote the video game Heavenly Sword? Huh. Weird.
Yeah, I'm interested. And a quick peek at the cast list. All right, I'm down. William Fichtner.
Oh, it's that guy. I know that
Ooh, we
guy.
get to talk about Amber Heard.
Yeah.
And Billy Burke.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a fun one. I'm excited for this. This is going to be good. And not 3 hours. So
that's a plus.
Yeah.
That is a plus.
Yes, it is.
Should be able to bang this out in 2 episodes, no problem.
Yeah,
and
hour 45. Hell yeah, okay.
fully cover the plot in the way our audience has come to expect.
So listen, there's a guy, he's driving and he's angry.
He's super angry. So mad right now. All right, yeah, that's good. This is a good place to call it. Another one in the history books for us, in the rapidly becoming the most comprehensive compendium of Nick Cage filmography, down to the finest plot details.
We will be in the Library of Congress one day.
One of these days, if there's any justice, which we know there's not. But in the meantime, check us out on social media. You can find us on Twitter at cagefight_pod. We also have a Patreon. Hit them with that link.
Patreon.com/NickCageFight. Give us $3 and we will remove the ads with the straw.
Just slurp them right out of there.
Yep.
Yeah, for $5 we'll film it for you.
For $10 we'll hit it with a car.
All right,
a death-proof car. A death-proof car.
So none of our cars. We'll have to rent one.
Yeah, we'll
for $1 a day.
Yeah, we'll death-proof it. Just reinforce the shit out of it.
There you go.
With cardboard.
All right, excellent. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And as always, we appreciate you.
Oh, bye-bye.